rookie mock draft is full, which is awesome.
Yeah,
I'll get
thank
this
you
pulled up
everyone for
here.
taking the time to do this with us too. It's
I'm gonna hit the. I'm sorry. I'm gonna hit the randomizer one time, and I'll hit start button here as you tell everybody thanks. And
no, it's just so much better whenever you have actual people in here giving their opinions. I feel like there's more parity than the auto draft robot on these apps that we do. So definitely appreciate it, and don't be afraid to chat with us, whether it's through Sleeper or here on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's get this draft started. If you are
so close.
the 2, you got the 102. No Bijan Robinson for you. I'll hang out here at the back end of the first round. If you're with us here, thank you so much for being here. Subscribe to Bite Size Sports. Dan and I are here every other Wednesday night during the off season. Definitely, I would assume we'll probably do a couple more mock drafts as we go and get ready for our own rookie drafts in May and in June. But hit that subscribe button and hit that like button for us, and join the chat. Join the chat and let us know about our picks, and we'll let you know about your picks. That's what we're here for. Lions would be horrible for Bijan. I could get behind this too, because they got Montgomery there now. DeAndre Swift's obviously there.
Right.
The Lions seem to not know how to use any running backs other than Jamal Williams. So I could get down with this one too.
I feel like that would be a similar situation to what you explained with the Giants too, though. Like DeAndre Swift likely gets traded in that scenario.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Just like, because I'm going to keep the chat up just to kind of allow other people to see their chat too. I was kind of hoping that Daryl was here. I know that we kind of started and then didn't start it, so I'll try to see if he's here. Can't type. Yeah, I would agree. I think that DeAndre Swift gets shipped out of town if they were to draft somebody like that. G Baby Fresh says, when you guys are discussing quarterbacks, you should be talking the top 5. I kind of did mention Hendon Hooker a little bit earlier. I in our mock draft that we did on Bite Size Sports on Monday, we had Hendon Hooker as the 5th quarterback who was drafted in the first round. So I agree. I think that Hendon Hooker could potentially be in that top, he's in the top 5 conversation. I just don't think he's going to be in the top 10 where these other quarterbacks will run.
Man,
were you hoping the auto draft would not take Bijan?
The auto draft, not only am I one spot back from Bijan, but the auto draft is what claims him. That's always a tough run. Even if you're in a redraft league, you don't like the guy that has the auto draft turned on. But looking at all these prospects, right, we are mocking this up for a Superflex league. QBs carry a little bit of extra weight. I think that's why these rankings are kind of held up the way that they are, right? Top 3 on the board, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson. That's kind of how I would look at it for those QBs, followed by Will Levis a little bit further down. And then, of course, can't fail to mention Hendon Hooker. For me, I think I got to roll with, my guts before this week was telling me CJ Stroud, but I think I got to roll with the odds makers here. They seem to have a good feeling about Bryce Young. Hard for me not to take Anthony Richardson with the intangibles that he presents, but I'm going to roll with Bryce Young here as my pick number 2 in the in the Superflex style that we've got here. It makes a lot of sense. And then there goes Richardson right off the board.
I love it. I absolutely love it. You know that I would have absolutely I'm taking Anthony Richardson at 2 overall.
Yep. Here they go.
That's what I'm doing if I'm in that spot on a Superflex right now. I'm taking Anthony Richardson number 2. I really hope he lands in Indianapolis. I would love for that landing spot for him.
Mm-hmm.
G Baby Fresh says here, if you're low on Levis and Hooker goes 23rd to Minnesota, which would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He could sit a year in Minnesota behind Kirk Cousins and then come in next year. That would be a lot of fun. I think I would definitely have Hooker moving up the draft board a little bit if he was to have a landing spot like Minnesota.
I could see him going to Tampa as well. I think that's another spot that he's getting mocked to frequently if you're talking Hendon Hooker. You could also see him, another team potentially trading up for him, maybe back into round 1 to snag him. So those are all very likely spots, in the back end of that first round. Even the Lions could take him at pick 18, right? Jared Goff's not going to be there forever. So
So for the audio listeners, so far, Bijan number 1, Bryce Young 2, with Dan's pick. Anthony Richardson goes 3, CJ Stroud 4. I think those 4 are going to be the top 4. I think that's pretty standard right now in a super flex league, along with the 5th pick here with Jackson Smith and Jigba, also known as JSN, going 5th overall. That's a very standard spot here. Little interested in a Jahmyr Gibbs here at 8. What are your thoughts around Gibbs here over guys like Jordan Addison and Zay Flowers?
Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, he's been getting a lot of love as far as running backs go. He's the clear number 2 there. Coming out of Alabama, obviously they're just like a running back factory down there. I think there's a good chance a contender scoops him up in round 2, and putting him in a potent offense, you're going to get your value immediately. Taking Jahmyr Gibbs over guys like, I'm not super high on Addison or Johnston, to be honest with you. I definitely like Flowers a little bit more than those 2 guys if I'm looking at the wide receivers. And then outside of that, man, I'm loving the tight ends from this class. I have a lot of value put into those guys.
How soon do you think you're going to pull the trigger on a tight end? Will Levis goes at 107, Zay Flowers at 108. Yep. But how soon do you think you'll pull the trigger on tight end?
I'm telling you, if I'm at the back end of a 12-man rookie draft for Dynasty and I don't get one of the premier quarterbacks, I don't get Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan, I don't get one of these 2 wide receivers, then tight end moves up my board in a hurry. And I'm looking at Mayer and Kincaid as that guy, and then hoping that when I come back around for round 2, I maybe pick up one of those other wide receivers that I can take a flyer on. Yep, there goes Mayer.
There goes Mayer right there. Absolutely. 109, just as you were talking about it. Yep. That's a really nice spot at 109 there. I'm probably currently still putting them at the front end of the second round. I don't know if I'm quite ready to take Mayer at 109 over a Jordan Addison. Zach Charbonnet is starting to become a name. I like Devin Akine. Is Akine or Akine? Akine.
I think that's how the second one.
I'm really starting to. The more I research on him, the more I see some of his measurables. I'm starting to like him a little bit. Mm-hmm. And of course, this is still a super flex. So, Hendon Hooker, although he's way down here for sleeper, ton of value with super flex. And the fact that you're going to need that second quarterback. So I want to make sure that I keep him on my mind too here at the back end of round 1. If you're in the chat here, let us know who do you think. Is this too early for tight end at 109 with Mayer going off here with Nick with a pick, taking him at 109? What do you guys think about that? Let us know in the chat while you're here. Waiting on Jimmy's brother here to go ahead.
He's got the super bad reference in the name here. You're Jimmy's brother. You're the singer.
Oh yeah. I didn't even pick up on it.
But with tight end, the reason why I'm carrying a little more value on him, I think, is just because of the lack of value in the position group as a whole. I mean, this past year we saw that Travis Kelce was the only true valuable tight end, with flashes from Hawkinson and Goddard and Kittle and those guys, and Andrews too, of course. But man, I'm just looking for that next guy to kind of take that leap. And the way this class is getting talked about, it's giving me a lot of hope for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're going to have, you're not going to necessarily be able to put most of these guys in that starting lineup year 1. I mean, we even saw Kyle Pitts had some success year 1, and then a little bit of lull in year 2. You're going to have to wait 2 to 3 years potentially for some of these guys, but that's tight end prime. Get them to be about 26 years old, a couple years in the league, and that is the prime age for tight ends. So I like that a lot. Impressive Akine pronunciation. I think you're the first analyst I've come across. Wow. Well, thank you, Rink.
Yeah.
I thought that was right, so I'm glad I had that right. I do not like Quentin Johnson here. I think he's going to fall on Thursday night, so I'm a little bit worried about his landing spot currently. I would have taken Jordan Addison for sure. Hendon Hooker is on my mind right now. I assume Sure Shot 504 snags him at the turn. And so for that reason, if I'm in this situation, I want to go get one of my two guys. I could live with Charbonnet, Bigsby, not as much, but Akine is there, right? So he might double tap running back, but I know he's going to take Hendon Hooker. So I'm going to go ahead and snipe him with Hendon Hooker now.
Yep.
And I'll come back and get my running back later.
That's what I would do too, man. I see Quentin Johnston going here on this turn for sure. And especially in most mocks. Obviously, a lot of these guys in this mock can hear what we're saying. But
yeah, for sure. But that's the fun part about it, right? Draft against us. Come beat us. DJ here says not too early for tight end, just the wrong one. He's a Kincaid guy. Oh man, I forgot this is a linear like our regular drafts would be. So obviously you're up again.
Oh dang, let me get this.
I forgot I didn't snake it because most rookie drafts are not snaked.
True that. So
sorry to throw you off there.
Quentin Johnston goes. Oh man, I was not expecting to get this opportunity here.
There you go.
I
don't know why. I guess just because we're drafting, I automatically assumed it was snake, but I remember when I set it up, like we don't snake draft in rookie drafts, so why would we do it in a mock draft?
Very true, man. So I know I talked up tight end quite a bit. I'm going to roll with my guy here, Kincaid.
There we go. And that's what BJ said as well in the chat, that Kincaid will be the guy.
Yep.
Here.
He's getting talked about as the top guy here.
3 tight ends that are going to be pretty solid now. Washington's just so big, and I'm just excited to see him play.
Yeah.
In the NFL.
The skill set is great.
Musgraves is fine. I actually listened a little bit on.
There goes Jalen Hyatt.
Tucker Kraft a little bit, and it kind of started making me like him a little bit more as the running back or the wide receivers, start to go off the board here in the second round. Now that I'm thinking back, like I don't think I would have taken Hendon Hooker at 111 if it wasn't the snake. Like,
yeah.
I took him because I was thinking it's a snake draft, but obviously know the draft and know the room. I probably don't take Hendon Hooker at that point in time. I probably would have picked between Charbonnet and Akine. Right now, I have Akine a little bit ahead with that pass catching ability, so that's probably where I would have went at the time.
There goes Zach Evans. So G Baby Fresh says in the chat here, if Charbonnet goes 60th to Cincy, then Mixon is cut. I don't know what landing spot Gibbs could go to where you'd take him ahead. So he's thinking Charbonnet should be ahead of Gibbs here as far as his ranking goes. If that plays out that way and Mixon is cut, I think that is a solid play for as far as the Charbonnet rankings. But that's the tough part about this part in the process, right? We don't know where these guys are going to end up. If you're just looking at the raw talent and the ceiling minus any of those schemes, and I think Gibbs carries a little bit of a better skill set. But if you put Charbonnet in that scenario where he's got a top 5 quarterback, he has a solid passing game, the offensive line is much improved. I mean, that's a phenomenal situation for a rookie running back to land in.
Yeah, absolutely. Great team, great organization. You're going to learn, from some of the best to do it. They just were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. You can't ask for much more. And Joe Mixon, with his off the field issues now and his age, again, he's right there with the Dalvin Cooks and Derrick Henrys of the world. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if he were to get cut here. Just to catch everybody up on the second round so far, Quentin Johnson led us off at the 201, followed by Dalton Kincaid, Jalen Hyatt, Josh Downs. I can't say Izzy's name. Yeah, I got Akine's down, but I don't have Izzy's down. If you have it down, you can say it. And then Zach Evans here
I think it's a Boniconda, but I could be off on that.
Abanaconda. So
Yeah.
there you go. And then there goes Akine by Warshak at 207. Keandre Miller goes at 208. So a nice little run of running backs.
I like Miller
I,
out of
I
TCU.
love this. This actually feels good to me. This is I think my second mock draft that I've done so far. And just this run of running backs is kind of, if I'm sitting in that 105 spot and I can get JSN and then get my pick of the running backs here in the second round, I like that a lot. Because I really think that the depth of this class is real. And I like the depth of the running backs a little bit more than I like the depth of the wide receivers in this class.
I'm totally with you there. And that's been a big knock on this class is like there's so much running back talent, but because of all the talent currently in the league, these teams do not need running backs the way that they would have in the past. So these guys are getting pushed down a little bit for these other positions of need where talent's a little bit thinner. But I mean, if you look at every NFL roster, like there's a guy that has had 1,000-yard season on almost every single one of these rosters. So, it's just a tough break for these guys coming in this year. Jahmyr Gibbs, Akine, Charbonnet, those guys could all be number one picks if we rewound the clock about 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so weird with the way the NFL. We didn't talk about Bijan Robinson pre-draft like we were going to. We kind of had it in our show notes. But I was going to talk just about that, about how I'm so intrigued to see not only where all the running backs fall, but where Bijan falls, because, in 2020, Jonathan Taylor falls to the second round. But he was the highly regarded running back. R.I.P. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I wish the Chiefs would have taken Johnny Taylor. But you know what I mean? So
Dobbins
you don't have that. Or Dobbins or Swift, any of them. Anybody but Clyde. But then the next year you have Harris and was it ETN that year that go back to back in the first round. Last year you get a couple guys in the first round. So it's like, what is the NFL going to do this year? Are they going to go first round? Are they going to go top 10, with the first round with Bijan? Or are they going to say, no, we still don't, value the running back that much. We're not going to overshoot for a guy like a Bijan or any of these other running backs. How do you narrow the gap between Gibbs to Charbonnet to RB4? Take your pick. I mean,
I made a comment about this in our last show, right? I think it's like Bijan's the clear number one. And then after Gibbs, it's like very slim degrees of separation between all of those running backs. I think all of them bring a lot to the game. They're all super talented. They're all dynamic for the most part. Like there's a lot here. I mean, even look at Roschon Johnson, right? He sat behind the number one in a lot of these rankings, the number one or the number two overall draft prospect, and he still is getting looked at as a potential day 2 pick. So it's just kind of wild. And he's still available for me.
I don't even know which one I would take right now at 4. Well, I do. I would take Akine at 4 over all these other guys. So I don't know who I would take at 5 right now between the rest of these guys. I would let my draft, I guess, kind of come to me there. But I do think it is starting to become pretty clear. It's Charbonnet, Gibbs, Robinson, 3-1. I went backwards, but that's kind of clear to me. While you take your pick, I'm going to talk up my pick real quick. I took Marvin Mims here at 211.
You sniped me.
Oh, there we go. That's what I like to hear. I do like him a little bit over Cedric Tillman, although I think Cedric Tillman is a fine pick here at the back end of the second round. So many running backs went off the board. Tajay Spears could have been somebody I would have looked at, pass catcher there. But with all those running backs off the boards, I had to go back to my bread and butter. That's wide receiver. Marvin Mims, 22.5% target share last year in his last year of college. He's up in the 94th percentile in speed and 90th percentile in burst score. So I'm going to take a little bit of that athleticism here at the back end of the second round. Cedric Tillman goes after that. Then Darnell Washington, the third tight end off the board at 301. Dan, you are up here. Where are you going?
So I really wanted Marvin Mims. I wanted to round out my draft with a wide receiver prospect that I liked. What's his name? Kayshon Boutte, is that how you say his name out of LSU?
Yeah, Booty.
I've been hearing a lot of buzz on him, not super hype on him. I'm gonna go ahead and make my pick, and I'll keep talking through it. So, Rashee Rice is another guy that I've done a little bit of research on, and I come to like him a little bit better as I've kind of moved through this process towards draft day. Another guy, if we were going 4 rounds, A.T. Perry later in the draft, I really like him out of Cincinnati. And then Roschon Johnson's who I ended up rolling with, right? He's sitting behind the very best player in the entire draft, according to a lot of these analysts out here. So, very talented guy. He just happens to be stuck behind Bijan Robinson. So I'm eager to see where he ends up. I think he's got a strong running style, something that's going to translate really well to the NFL. And he's going to get an opportunity. So I'm going to roll with him as running back just because I'm not super high. I don't feel like I need to spend the capital on any of these wide receivers that are available.
Yeah, and we talked about it earlier, right? I think the depth of the running backs is a little bit better than these wide receivers. So just kind of go ahead and continue to hammer those running backs. Musgraves, tight end, goes the 4th tight end off the board, goes at 303. Sean Tucker at 304. I don't know, Mingo. Jerome Mingo? I can't remember his first name.
Jonathan Mingo.
Jonathan Mingo.
Out of Ole Miss.
At 305. Running back Brown at 306. And we are at Chase Brown. So C.H. Noah goes 3 straight running backs. He's ready to just dive into this running back class.
You got a solid crew.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Obviously, we don't have any pre-rosters or anything like that coming into this as we're just mocking it up. But
right,
maybe you are set at the wide receiver position, and you just want to continue to hammer these young running backs. A lot of people would rather just have the rookies or the second-year running backs, see which one pans out the best, and keep rolling with it. There's only so many running backs in the league. So, and most of these roster positions, you're playing 2 or 3, and there's only, 32 teams and 1 or 2 per team. So you're trying to just find anybody and everybody you can to fill these rosters and your starting spots. There goes Booty. I was kind of hoping he would continue to fall.
Hey, getting him on the back end of the 3rd round, I think that's great. That would be great value.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Kayshon Boutte at 307. 308 is Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State. And then a couple quarterbacks here. A couple quarterbacks. It is a super flex league. So go ahead and have yourself one. Stetson Bennett's not the one I would like, but he's on auto draft. So I'm sure that's probably why that happened. I think Stetson Bennett's a fine flyer in the 5th round if you run 5 rounds on a draft in your league, but maybe not in round 3. We've talked a lot about these running backs. I'm going to go right back to the wide receiver though. Rashee Rice is sitting here for me. You kind of talked him up a little bit at the back end of round 3. I'm not going to be too overly upset about that. 6'1", 204. He's got a little bit of, he's not huge, but he's going to bring some speed in here out of SMU. I'll take Rashee Rice. I feel it's like a pretty decent value for what would he be now? The 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. So 12th wide receiver off the board. How many years does 12 receivers, not even last 2 rounds in rookie drafts because everybody wants those wide receivers. So I'll take him in the back end of the 3rd round. If you participated in that draft, one last pick for those of you at home listening afterwards. Jaden Reed out of Michigan State goes 312. Thank you all for joining the draft. That's a lot of fun. I just love being able to talk through some of the picks as we go along because we can sit here and talk about rookies all day, but when you actually start to see the flow of a draft and how that works, and to be able to talk through that a lot is a lot of fun.